To prevent our rapid thrust up the Rhone Valley, the Germans concentrated heavy forces below Montélimar. But Task Force Butler, composed of elements from the 6th Corps, skillfully wheeled through Dye to the Rhone, pocketing the Nazis from the rear. It was in conjunction with our units of the 3rd Division, which were driving up from the south. Our artillery went into action. Though trapped by our rapid maneuver, the Germans fought savagely. The Nazis who escaped annihilation fled northward, pursued by our Air Force and units of the 3rd Division. In their haste, the Germans left much of their valuable equipment intact. Task Force Butler really paid off. Nazis who had been cut off from their escaping comrades were rounded up and imprisoned. While the 3rd Division was moving toward Lyon, the 191st Tank Destroyer Battalion, in support of the 45th, raced northward above Lyon to cut off the Germans who were retreating through the Rhone Valley. After 4 long years of Nazi slavery, the freed population staged a wild celebration to welcome our men. The major delaying tactics of the retreating enemy consisted primarily in destroying all bridges, railroads, and blocking highways. There was no rest for the engineers. Major General John W. O'Daniel, commander of the 3rd, crossed the bypass to direct the pursuit. On September 11, 1944, reconnaissance elements of the 1st French Armored Division entered Dijon. Dijon is an important road junction on the main highway leading from southern France. The few American civilians in town on this date were given very special attention. Meanwhile, at Saint-Bernon, 13 miles west of Dijon, French troops attached to the 7th Army joined with the French units of the 3rd Army. The final line had been forged between our forces, which landed in southern France on August 15th, and those which had landed in Normandy on the 6th of June. This junction closed the last escape route for the Germans remaining in the south and west of France. Thus, the fighting qualities of the soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the United Nations defeated the enemy in southern France. Their valor, stamina, and devotion to duty were beyond praise.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased to bring to you today 2 noted war correspondents from Korea, Mr. Doug Larson of Scripps Howard and Sergeant Francis Porter of the United States Army. Well, welcome to the Blue Badge. We're glad to have you aboard. Incidentally, Doug, how long were you in Korea?
Well, Bill, I caught most of the last winter there. I was there January, February, March, the chilly months.
How about yourself, Sergeant?
Well, I got there in June of 1951 and came home just April of this year.
Well, the purpose of our being here today is to discuss something which I feel very deeply about. And I might start off by just making a statement, and you can go ahead and tear it apart if you will. The statement is this: it is my belief that publicity of a combat unit, good publicity and good coverage by the press, aids materially in the increase of the combat effectiveness or efficiency of that unit. First, because the individual is recognized. Second, because the unit and the individual are placed under a spotlight. And I believe you'll all agree that the performer on the stage does better under the spot than he does in the shadows. And third, there results, therefore, a chain reaction, that when an individual is recognized, he does even greater deeds, and then there's more publicity, and then there's the additional greater deeds. It goes on and on. Can you tear that apart, Doug?
Bill, I don't think that point needs any tearing apart. I think you're absolutely right. I know that when I hit a unit, why, there seems to be an immediate spark of enthusiasm, certainly not for me. The mere fact that a correspondent or reporter is there, in any kind of activity they're doing, they seem to be more interested, do a better job, call it showing off if you will. I think it's a very valid point, and of course correspondents are always flattered by the thing, and to the extent that a correspondent helps, I think he is pleased by that.
Sergeant Porter, do you agree with Doug on that?
I certainly do, Colonel, and there are a couple of points I'd like to bring out. The first is we always are striving to get individual recognition for these people who do the job. And a second point is we have found that when you tell a good outfit that they're good, they just seem to get better.
That's on the principle that commendation is better than condemnation. Is that the idea?
It certainly is, sir. And in this problem of publicity, it proves itself time and time again.
Right. Doug, I have another question for you. Some commanders are reluctant. This is the question. Some commanders are reluctant to go after publicity for the unit for the fear of censure that they may be getting publicity for themselves. Have you run into that?
Well, Bill, I don't think so. My experience has shown that usually if you get together with a young commander, a commander who hasn't had much experience in press relations, he's likely to be a little nervous, perhaps a little cautious. But I think once he has had a little experience with the correspondence and with the media, why it works out very smoothly. I don't think so. I think perhaps, Colonel, the officers are afraid of being tagged as publicity seekers, and they're just dodging it for themselves. That's my feeling.
How about it, Sergeant?
I agree with him there, sir. Of course, we Army correspondents get to know commanders from division commanders right on down to squad leaders, and I have found that these commanders are insistent that the publicity go to the men under their command, that they push the publicity down.
Well, that's the thing we're talking about. Well, let me ask you a question here again, Doug. How about the correspondents liking to follow a specific unit and going along with them all the time instead of just covering the board?
Well, that certainly makes sense, and it was my experience all the time. You get to a unit, an outfit, you get friendly with them, they like you, you know how they react, and well, you just have more contacts in an outfit, and frequently if you've gone and you come back, they will have remembered stories and tip you off onto what has happened, or they will tip you off perhaps on some action or something that's coming up that you will want to cover, and you just cement your friendships with them. I think that's the experience.
Well, my friend over here, Sergeant Porter, had no choice in that matter. He was tagged to cover the 7th Division, and we ran into each other over there. Well, I'm afraid our time is up. I'd like to thank Doug Larson and Sergeant Francis Porter for being with us. And ladies and gentlemen, we would be pleased if you would be with us next time when we bring you the story of the 7th Division, the famous Hourglass Division from Korea. So until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Colonel Quinn speaking for the combat infantrymen who ask you to look twice at the man who wears the blue badge, for it's the mark of a man.
The Big Picture is a weekly television report to the nation on the activities of the Army at home and overseas. Produced by the Signal Corps Pictorial Center. Presented by the U.S. Army in cooperation with this station. You can be an important part of the big picture. You can proudly serve with the best equipped, the best trained, the best fighting team in the world today, the United States Army.